In Next.js, to have different routes and different segments in the route in the URL, we can simply create different folders and put a page or route inside it. But there are some cases that we don't know the name of that folder, and it is where the dynamic routes comes in. As an example, you might have a page called products that's responsible to showing all the products for you. But if you want to have something like product 101, that's responsibility is to show product with ID 101, what you have to do is to create a folder called 101. But it's not sensible because 101 is the product ID and it's changed during time and it acts like a parameter. We don't know it in advance. For every product that I have in the database, probably I cannot create a folder and make a page inside it. But the solution that Next.js offers is to have dynamic routes, which is simply by making a folder under this products folder. We call it, for example, ID, and then I wrap it with brackets like this. So the folder name should be bracket ID close bracket. And in this way, if I make a page under this folder, like page.tsx, this ID is going to be passed to the page function. You know that page is a simple function, right? So the parameters that this page will receive includes ID. Later, if users try to pass 101, this page is going to get 101 as the input. And if they put anything else like hello, they're going to get this hello as a parameter of the page. And then developers can receive this and perform different actions based on the received input. Let's try it. I simply go and create a folder called products here in the app folder, products. And then I create another one. I call it ID, but it's wrapped with brackets. And then I create a page, of course, inside this folder. Now I have to return a function or export a function, export default async function product ID, product detail. And then to receive the passed ID, what I have to do is to get something called params, and its type is something that I will explain in a minute. But for now, imagine that I get this params, and now I can simply maybe show it on the page, return a div that has params.id, and this ID comes from the folder name above this page. So if I change it to something like product ID like this, I have to change this to product ID instead of ID, like product ID. And it's going to work as expected. Let's try it. I run the project. npm, actually it's running. If I go to products, slash, by passing anything, doesn't matter. There's no validation at this time, at this moment. I go with hello, and then product ID is hello. I'm receiving it via params. If I pass an ID, maybe a number, you can see I can have it now. And this is how dynamic routes work, by simply putting the folder name into brackets. But sometimes we might have different dynamic segments which are passed to this page. For example, the first segment of this route can be ID, then the second one that is separated by slash can be title, product title, like this. And if I want the same page to receive this route, what I have to do is to, of course, not creating another route, but to change it a little. And to do so, what we can do is by simply putting 3 dots before the folder's name like this. And now all the segments are going to be passed to this page as an array of items, which each element in that array includes one of these segments. So the first element of this array is going to be 101, and second item in this array is going to be product title. Let's try to show it. If I go with product ID, it's an array. Now I can iterate through it. What I can do is simply say params.product ID.map, and then I get the element, and then I can return something. Probably I can go with ul in Lee here as the body Lee, and like this. So the cool thing is that there's no limitation, only the URL length limitation that browsers or HTTP requests or HTTP standards support. But you can have 1 or 2, maybe A, B, C, separated with slash A, B, C, D, and so on and so forth. So you can pass as much as you want and you desire, and you can get them via array of the elements here. But of course, there's the product ID may not sound good for these kind of parameters because it's kind of an array, and instead maybe you can go with another name like slug, and then here you can get it. It's going to work as expected and as before. But also there's another convention in this naming pattern, which is what if we don't have any parameter. For example, I don't have the ID at the moment, but I want this page to get the request. It starts with /products. And to do so, what we can do, we can just simply wrap it again with another brackets. In this case, we are telling Next.js that these params can be optional, and users can pass those params to us and may not. And it means that, first of all, this URL now is going to handle each route, and params.slug may be undefined. Let's try it, and I'm expecting to receive an error. And you can see the map from undefined doesn't exist. So it means that this slug is undefined at the moment. Let me fix it, and by simply putting a question mark here, we check if it is undefined. Do not iterate or use the map. But if the users pass something, we can get it, of course. And this is how it works. And the last part of this naming convention is the type of these params. And the type of params can simply be because we are expecting an array of elements as slug here. I can have params, then its type is going to be slug, like this. So the type of params is of type something that has a slug with an array of strings. And starting Next.js 15, this params is going to be a promise, like this, promise. And I have to wrap it with promise. It's working. We are in Next.js 15 at the moment, but it's working because of the backward compatibility. In the future, it's going to be deprecated and you must use promise instead, like this. And now, since it is a promise, we have to await it. And to do so, I can say await promise, then slug. And it's working like before, perfectly. Let's try. Product ID, and I can go with A, B, C, and other params that I might have. And the last part is how to fix SSG, or static site generation. And the idea behind is that Next.js at the build time tries to generate a static page out of all the static routes that we have to simply boost the performance. But for dynamic routes, since it doesn't know what kind of parameters is going to be passed by users to these pages, it doesn't generate those static files or static pages for us. But to fix that, they have introduced a function called export function generate static params, and what it does, it returns an array, and this array's shape should be the same type that we are expecting on this page. So on each element, it should be an array of strings. It can be an ID, probably based on your requirements, a title, and then so on and so forth. So I can pass 101, 102, 1003, and so on. And these strings or values that you can see are things that I'm sure that this product page is going to receive, because in my database, for example, I have these IDs and I want Next.js to produce those static files based on these IDs that I'm returning. Of course, it's not the best to hard code them. Maybe you want to fetch them via an API or get them from a database. So you might have a db.query all the products or IDs and titles from the products table, then you can have them and return them. Something like this is a snippet code. It's not the actual code, of course. But I hope you get the idea how you can have these ID titles and how you can return them. So if I try to build the app now, Next.js at the build time is going to run this function and will receive these ID titles and will pass them to page products to be able to generate that static pages for us. Let's try to build and make sure it's working fine. There's no problem. npm run build. And it's working fine. I could successfully build the project, as you can see. And this is how it works, how we can have SSG enabled for dynamic routes. Thanks for watching and see you in the next ones.